And for the final method, which is the API endpoint, we go to screener.in, and then I'm displayed data consultancy services here. And then if I try to go into price book, this this is the data that I'm interested in. I really want to get this time series data. And then how do I really make that happen, right? So to do this, the first thing that we need to do is check if there is already an existing endpoint that we could tap into. So the way you can do it is go into inspect of that particular page, go into networks, filter only the fetch and the /xhr. This is the item that we are looking at. Otherwise, if you have all, you pretty much have too many things confusing here. So just filter on all the fetch here, and then try and do a reload, right, or a refresh of that page. You can clearly see, here there are a few requests that are being fired. One that we are specifically interested is price to book. The moment you do it, you see that this particular new request have come in here, which is what the request that we are interested in. So when you click on it, you can clearly see all of the time series data that we are interested in is in the response here. And then when we go into headers, we can clearly see the URL, the kind of the endpoint that the server is exposing the data to. All we need to do is just tap this particular endpoint, and then we should be able to get the data that we're looking at, which is exactly this one. And here's the Python implementation for it. Some may argue that it's not really an API endpoint. From a purist perspective, it's not really an API endpoint, but it's basically a node that the web server is exposing itself to. So you may call it whatever you want, but this is typically one of the easiest method to fetch data from web servers. So the implementation itself is pretty straightforward. You have the URL that you want to scrape as the input, which in this case it is this one. And then you also have a referral URL, which is very, very important, because typically some of the websites basically have bot blockers. So when you try to scrape directly using the endpoint here, you may end up into problems. So what you have to do is that you'll have to give a referral URL. This URL, you can actually find it on the website itself. So if you go into the specific headers that we already saw and then go all the way down, you would see the referrer here, right? And this is exactly what we want. So what this referrer is going to do is it's going to mimic as if the actual request is coming from this legitimate referrer URL, and that makes our basic request mimic as if it's coming from a real browser, right? So all you need to do is just do the get URL of the referral URL, and then create the cookie. And then once that cookie is set, then you do the actual request.get of the URL that you want, right? Basically using the header the cookies that we've already generated. And that should basically get you all the data that we talked about. So the code is fairly straightforward. The first is you're doing a fetch cookies for the referral URL, which is basically you're trying to get the URL for the referral and then get the cookies, set that cookies, and this is what gets stored. And then you actually do the second time. This time you're doing for the main URL, and then you're also setting the cookies that you already got from the referral URL here, right? The cookies equal to cookies, the one that you set it up here. When you do like this, majority of the time your call would go through. You would not have any problems. And then finally, when the response comes through, you would actually have the JSON data of all the time series data that we wanted, right? And then once that is captured, all you need to do is just print it out. So let's try and run this. And as you can clearly see, the entire timeline series data that we wanted for the price to book value is pretty much available here. And that's how this particular code works.